From breaking bats on his 601st homer to his record-breaking 756th home run, these are the best homers of Barry Bonds' career. We all know Bonds as the home run king as he smashed 762 of them, but some were more memorable than the others, sort of like his homer against the Marlins in 2002. After a solid pitch from the Marlins, Bonds swung his bat with all his might, and before anyone knew it, the bat broke. Now that alone is a pretty crazy moment in itself. But Bonds, being the menace that he is, still managed to whack that ball into the crowd for a sick homer. It was one of the flattest shots I've ever seen, and I don't even know how he got enough on it for it to go the distance, especially since his bat broke. But hey, it's Barry Bonds we're talking about. After all, he's the man who also holds the record for the most home runs in a season. And when he hit his 71st homer in 2001, the crowd went wild. That season was one to remember for Barry and the Giants because he was on fire all season long. I mean, he was hitting homers left, right, and center to the point that it was unbelievable. After tying Mark McGwire's record against Houston on the 4th of October 2001, just one day later, he went on to set the single-season record with a monstrous home run that made everyone jump off their seats. Dodgers pitcher Chan Ho Park tried his best to stop Bonds in his tracks, but we all knew who was going to come out on top. The atmosphere was electric, and every San Francisco fan was having the time of their life. It was difficult for people to feel joyful around this time because this occurred just a month after the 9/11 attack. But sports and occasions like these allowed the fans to feel at least a little happiness during a difficult time. Speaking of dark times, remember when Bonds had to miss some games because his father was suffering from cancer? The Giants missed his presence big time and ended up losing 6 games in a row. But once he came back, he hit a walk-off homer. After being swept at Montreal, San Francisco was clearly looking lost without their star player, Barry Bonds. Thankfully, though, he soon rejoined the team for a home game, and in his return to the team, he played his heart out. He gave the Giants a 5-4 victory in 10 innings by launching a massive walk-off home run off Braves left-hander Ray King, completely turning the tide for the team. Bonds was clearly going through a lot, but he wanted to go out there and try his best in honor of his dad. He even said himself, "I just had a lot of emotions going through me for my dad." There's no doubt about the fact that he definitely made his father super proud. It was an iconic moment that fans will never forget, which is something I can also say about his homer at Yankee Stadium back in 2002. Barry may only have one homer at the stadium, but it was one to remember. In the very first inning of the game, Bonds sent New York fans into a frenzy after he hit an insane 3-run home run into the upper deck, off Ted Lilly. With that massive homer, he allowed himself to have a signature moment at the house that Ruth built. Even Bonds couldn't help but be amazed at his 385-foot home run, which he made even more iconic thanks to his bat flip. The calls from the commentators made it even better as John Miller exclaimed, "Forget about it, this one's headed for New Jersey." Just 4 years later, Barry hit another incredible milestone when he passed Babe Ruth on the MLB list amidst rumors of him using banned substances. It was May 28, 2006. Barry hit a 90-mile-per-hour fastball from the Colorado Rockies' Byung-Hyun Kim over the center field fence for his 715th career home run. He had now passed Babe Ruth for the second most home runs in MLB history. This historic home run came 8 days after he tied the Babe for second place on the career chart. He said, "I knew it was definitely gone. There was no doubt." The Giants lost the game in San Francisco 6-3. Barry, who was 41 at the time, told reporters that passing Ruth was a great honor and that he had a lot of respect for Babe Ruth and what he's done. Teammates and opponents were awed by Bonds surpassing Ruth. Everybody was waiting for a moment like this, San Francisco shortstop Omar Vizquel told reporters as Giants celebrated with Bonds with champagne in the clubhouse after the game. Colorado center fielder Ryan Spilborghs, who had been called up from the minors for the game, said he had goosebumps watching Bonds set the record. Now let's rewind back to Barry's first year with the Giants, because what he did in his home debut set the stage for what would be an insane run in San Francisco. The franchise was on the verge of relocating before an ownership group led by Peter Magawan stepped in to stop that from happening, and soon after the Giants made a splash by signing Bonds. The offseason was nothing short of a roller coaster, but it was all worth it because the Giants' home opener in 1992 was unforgettable. Bonds signaled the beginning of a new era at Candlestick Park as he homered in the first at bat in his home debut against the Marlins. And as he rounded first base, he made sure to high-five his dad, who was the club's first base coach at the time. Following that, let's go back to his crazy 2001 season when he hit homer number 564. One more home run to tie McGwire's single-season record going into a 3-game series with Houston. In the first game, Barry was 1 for 2 with 2 walks, one of which was intentional. And it was the same story in the second game except with 3 walks. In the third game, Bonds was 0 for 1 with 3 walks, 1 intentional, and at this point, things didn't seem too good for the Giants. And to make things worse, towards the end of the third game, Astros manager Larry Dierker let his secret weapon loose, the 22-year-old left-hander who could throw 100 miles per hour, Wilfredo Rodriguez. But despite that, Bonds didn't give up and crushed the ball like it was nothing, hitting a massive home run in the process. Rodriguez never played a major league game after this, mainly due to injuries, but for storytelling purposes, let's just say Bonds owned him so badly he never returned to the MLB. It was an amazing way to make history. And less than 3 years later, Bonds would go on to tie his godfather for most homers. Willie Mays, who was a Giants legend in his own right, smashed 660 home runs throughout his career, and Bonds managed to tie that impressive number back in April 2004. He matched the Say Hey Kid with a go-ahead 3-run shot off Brewers right-hander Matt Kinney that went right into McCovey Cove. After rounding the bases, Bonds and Mays shared a moment together which saw Willie present his godson with a diamond-encrusted Olympic torch to signal a passing of the torch moment. According to Bonds, Willie gave him his blessing. That's what made the difference. But before he made the 600 and 700 club, he had to get to the 500 homer club, and he did so in style. In April of 2001, he became the 17th player to reach the milestone thanks to a beautiful splash hit. He smashed a slider from reliever Terry Adams over the right field wall for a 2-run home run that gave the Giants a 3-2 lead against their rivals, the Dodgers, which made the moment all that sweeter for San Francisco fans. To make things worse for the Dodgers, celebrations started earlier than expected for the Giants as the game stopped for 9 minutes in the bottom of the 8th inning for Bonds to pose for some pictures with McCovey and Mays. Though, of course, his greatest homer is the one that allowed him to create history. I'm talking about home run number 756. The fateful day was August 7th, 2007, with the Giants facing off against the Nationals. And when left-hander Mike Bacsik threw a fastball to Bonds, the multiple-time MVP hammered it out to right center field for a massive homer, allowing him to break Hank Aaron's 33-year record. It was an unreal moment, and Barry himself was overcome with emotion because the second he hit the home run, he immediately threw his arms in the air to celebrate while Giants broadcaster Dwayne Kuiper yelled, "756, Bonds stands alone." He was first met by his son, followed by his teammates and coaches before the rest of his family joined him on the field. Aaron congratulated Bonds with a video message, and honestly, the moment felt like it was straight out of a movie. So, from Barry Bonds' bat-breaking on his 601st homer to his record-breaking 756th home run, those were the best homers of Barry Bonds' career.